Hello, all you beautiful people. Happy Saturday night. I don't know if there's a specific term for Saturday night. So I'm gonna go to bed in a little while, but I figured I'd just see how you guys were all doing. So I didn't really have anything else I was gonna do, anyways. So I'd seen a couple different movies lately, so I just figured I'd talk about them in passing. I have a review of High Life I might put up, but I recorded it while I was like walking around, so who knows if it's like that, like the audio quality is just too bad or something like that. But yeah, so I went to see High Life last night. It's kind of funny because like I could have either gone to see that or I could have gone to see Avengers Endgame, but Avengers Endgame was like I couldn't get tickets for it because I had actually completely forgot it was even coming out. That's how little I care about Avengers Endgame. And High Life was finally playing. Sam Squatch asks, "What's my opinion on the new Sabaton song?" I think that's Bismarck. I haven't really listened to it yet. Um, I did really like their latest album. Last Stand was really good. In particular, I liked Rourke's Drift. I don't know. Most of their songs are good. Rourke's Drift was good. Winged Hussars was good. What was that other one that I really liked? Shiruyama. I don't know how you pronounce it exactly. That one was also good. But yeah, so I'd heard about High Life a couple months ago. I think it was last year. I saw a trailer for it, and it looked really weird. It looked really interesting, but it looked really weird. And I kind of like kind of existentialist, kind of a bit unusual films like that. Like I guess you could say existentialist kind of sci-fi movies. So I really wanted to go see it. The issue is, and this is a complaint I've had a lot in the past. I think I periodically talked about it. A lot of I don't know if artsy movie is the right term. By the way, this is Far Cry New Dawn. Um, I don't know if you want to call it artsy or independent or just less popular movies. They only release in what's it called again? New York and LA, and they won't release it anywhere else. And they'll often release a movie like in mid year to December of the last year in those two places and not release it anywhere else. The idea being that it'll qualify for an Oscar, and if it gets an Oscar, then they'll wide release it. But I just always hate it because it's sometimes it's something I like actually want to see, and I can't watch it because they won't let you watch it, and it's just something that always irritates me. Like I've said. So yeah, so I saw High Life last night. No, Evie, I haven't seen Nostalgia's Wounds of it. So, firstly, it's very obvious that the film was I don't know if "fuck you" is the right way of putting it, but it's very obviously a response to Interstellar because the plot's kind of similar and a lot of the other kind of I don't know if you want to say mechanics or it just obviously is very it's obviously a response to it. It takes a much more kind of cynical look at space exploration. There's something I wish that I don't know. Maybe I'll ask about it next time I'm at the movie theater. But I think because I used to work at one, you some movies have closed captioning. Like you can get a device that like displays the closed captions. I might have to ask about that because I find a lot of movies. My hearing isn't bad or anything. It's just that people like mumble in them or the audio isn't balanced very well. Like an issue I have in movies a lot of the time is I call it inconsistent volume, where it just the volume will shoot up or shoot down or something like that. It'll just kind of not be very good. So like I found that a big problem in High Life. I just couldn't like hear half the dialogue in the movie because like the music droned it out. I always watch movies. Like if I'm watching a movie on my own, I'll always put subtitles on, just because it can be hard to hear what people are talking about. What was I thinking about again? So yeah, so High Life. One of the weirdest things about this movie is it was randomly just super explicit. Sometimes indie movies are kind of like that, but like you had, I don't know, like a rape scene, you had a period blood scene, you had like a really graphic female masturbation scene. It's like I don't know why any of these things had to be in the movie. I find that's true with a lot of kind of these more independent-y films. They just are trying to be kind of shocking for the sake of being shocking. Yeah, like Cordy, it's not even that my hearing is bad or anything. My hearing is like okay. It's just a lot of the time it's just hard to hear what people are saying, especially if you're like watching a British movie or something and they have really strong local accents. It can be difficult. Okay, so let's talk about they have to in order to make up for the lackluster stories and low production budgets. Yeah, okay, so what's the plot of High Life? So it kind of takes a while to figure out because it's kind of one of those like as with most movies, it starts you off part of the way through the story and then kind of goes back. So the year is unspecified year in the future, and humanity has developed light speed travel. Um, And so what they've decided to do is they offer death row inmates the opportunity to, rather than be executed, volunteer to go on. I'm not sure if it's a one-way mission or if it's a mission that just will take a very long time and has a low chance of success. But yeah, so they're allowed to go on these like long-term space missions. So the cast of Ship Seven, I guess it's called, opt for this instead of execution. So they go off to the. Their goal is to like, and I didn't even follow this because the movie wasn't very clear about it, but they're gonna go and investigate a black hole to get like some energy readings and calculations from it that are gonna allow them to develop like a renewable energy source. So it's kind of like they took the plot of Avatar and the plot of Interstellar and just kind of mix them together. So, like, it's really weird because so on this ship, it seems like everybody is like horny all the time. Like, they have this box that does some like really hardcore like self pleasuring, and like this was apparently something like I read in a description. The like the people on it aren't allowed to have sex with each other, but that wasn't made clear in the movie at all. So I didn't really get it. Like if they were all so horny, why they didn't just can just have sex with one another. It didn't really make any sense to me. But anyway, so they're on the mission. And it's kind of funny because Robert Pattinson's the main character, and in this, as with in Twilight, his character is about abstinence. So he opts to not use the degenerate self pleasuring machine. And this, like, so they have this doctor with them who killed her children for a reason that's never disclosed on screen. And she's obsessed with trying to have create a viable baby in space. Why exactly, I'm not sure. I think that's her part of the mission or something like that. So she keeps like getting the men to like jerk off into cups to try to impregnate the women, but none of it works. So she puts like I think it's sedatives in the water, and the fact that Robert Pattinson doesn't donate sperm arouses her for some reason. So she rapes him in his sleep. And then we have this really graphic scene where after she rapes him, she like takes his cum out with her hand and then injects it into another one of the women. This is a fucking weird movie. And then she gets pregnant and she has a baby. And and then eventually the rest of the cast, the crew either kill themselves or die, except for Robert Pattinson and his daughter. And like they reach the black hole, and then like someone tries to fly into the black hole, but they die because their head explodes. It's really fucking weird. So then they just keep going, and they were apparently doing this for like decades because Robert Pattinson's daughter has like grown up, and there's like some weird incestuous subtext in this movie. And like there's a really graphic scene of her getting her period blood for the first time, and I was just like, does this really need to be in the film? Like, I get that it happens, but I don't like watching like males, like teenage males jerk off either. I just don't really want to see that in a movie. So they're like sailing around the galaxy, so they come across this other ship that's full of dogs, and the dogs have been surviving by eating each other. How the dogs were able to survive for decades without by eating one another, I don't know. But like they want to take the daughter wants to take a dog back, but he's like, no, it'll be contaminated. So they don't take the dog back. And then like so they keep going, and they find another black hole, and they both get into the like another one of the spaceships for going into the black hole, and then the movie ends as they're leaving the ship. And I'm like, was the implication supposed to be that they're dead? That like it's like the end of Interstellar where I don't know, they transcend or something? I don't know. It was just fucking weird. So that was High Life. Was it a good movie? No, I've seen much worse movies. It was kind of interesting. The cinematography was really good. The music was interesting. But it was just kind of a mess. It's just... A lot of movies are just really up... particularly indie movies, and why I, as in general, hate them, is they're just really up their own ass. Like, they don't want to make any sort of... what was it again? Yeah, they just got kind of up their own ass, and they won't make any concessions to like good taste or traditional storytelling, even if it would make their product better. Arcana Plagues asked, did anyone see that protest against the drag queen reading event in New Orleans done by clowns? No, I didn't, and I'm kind of glad I didn't. I frankly get enough of that in Toronto. I need to do a video of it, but yeah, so the Anglican Cathedral, I think it's St. James in Toronto. I like had walked over there the other day, and there's a World Pride thing on it now. So the Anglican Church in Canada is fucking like the worst. It is the worst. It's kind of hard to explain how bad it is. It's even worse than the Catholic Church in Canada, and that is saying something. Let's see here. Where's the other alarm? This is Far Cry New Dawn, by the way. So this takes place, I think, like 20 years after Far Cry 5. And it's like a post-apocalyptic game. So it's not bad. It's basically just Far Cry. My only issue with it is they've introduced like RPG elements, so now there's like damage, which I just find really weird in like a first person shooter game. And basically because there's like levels for weapons now, guns just randomly don't do very much damage. I don't know, I don't think it was a very good idea. I mean, it's not like Catholic churches are any better than the Anglican Church. They just have a minimal sense of discipline. Like, the church I go to had, like, liturgical dance and shit like that, so I think that tells you the kind of what Canada's like. You should just convert to baptism. I don't know, I might try going to an evangelical church at some point. I'll have to see how paused they are. I was thinking of that, or maybe sometime going to... There's the Canadian branch of the Missouri Synod nearby. So I was thinking of maybe trying to go to that someday. Should the U.S. annex Canada? No, because I don't want to make like a bunch of... that would add a whole bunch of blue states. And the Democrats would have like a permanent majority in the both houses. I could always convert to being an Easter worshiper. That's like another potential denomination. I didn't even know it existed before the last week. Now, to be fair to Obama and Hillary, and I think this says something given how much I hate both of them, but I don't know, like, saying Easter worshippers really isn't that weird a term. Like, to say, oh, the Christians, like, I don't know, that wasn't really... I didn't really get why that was such a weird thing for them to say. I hope this stream doesn't get taken down because of the background music. So on the whole subject, I don't know if you want to say I've become more or less black-pilled lately. So across Canada, okay, so I just want to first say I get that center-right parties, no, like Easter worshippers, like churchgoers or party attendees. I don't know. It just makes sense to me. Oh, there is no music? Oh, okay. Maybe it's just very quiet. Okay. I'll turn it up a bit. I don't know. You should be able to hear at least something. Let me know if that's like better now. Like if you can hear it. Like at least the sound effects. What was I thinking of again? Yeah, so I get that like center right parties, like mainstream conservative parties, I get that these people suck, don't get me wrong. At the same time though, you would think that eventually, just because of how much the media portrays them as being like edgy racist parties, they would eventually just not be able to win elections. And even in like Canada and in places that are undergoing severe demographic transition, center-right parties can still win elections. In fact, in Canada, they've won election in most provinces in the last year. And it looks like the Conservative Party might win, they might win federally. So it's kind of baffling to me, because I thought we would be reaching a point by now where just none of these parties would be viable anymore. As paused and like PC as they are, I just figured because mainly white people vote for them, that the demographic transition would mean they couldn't win. but that doesn't seem to be the case. So I have to like see if I can find like some specific like statistics on this, but my hypothesis is it's because minorities don't vote and they aren't engaged in the political process. It's yeah, I have tried to figure out why my audio is so low. I don't know. I'm just gonna have to try to remember to run everything through a filter. I have everything at like max. I actually have things like at above max. It just records really quietly for some reason. Here, I'll turn up my my speaker here. I don't really know what it is. Maybe it's just my microphone and just the way it is, because I have a dynamic mic, so I think that's quieter. But like I said, even in like in all kinds of countries, they're able to. Oh, too loud. Sorry. Okay. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that'll be okay. What was I thinking of again? Good. I should be able to get a recurve bow now. Let's see. Do I have the materials for one? Yes, I do. Sweet. I have no idea what Aravola is. But, yeah, so I feel like political solutions to problems might actually be viable for a lot longer than we initially thought. Because, I don't know, it seems like right-wing parties will just be competitive. Because, I mean, let's think about this logically for a minute. The Democratic Party's base is not, like, Hispanics or blacks per se. The Democratic Party's base is cat ladies. Let's see, who's Arval? Oh yeah, I am subscribed to them, and they just never show up in my life, in my feed. What was I seeing here again? What was I looking at? Yes, I don't know if any of you guys have seen Cobra Kai Season 2 yet. Cobra Kai Season 2 is really good. I was actually surprised how good it was. I shouldn't have been surprised. As you guys know, I really loved Season 1. And Season 2, like, was just as good. In some ways, it was better. I think it, like, showed a lot of maturity as a show. It just, yeah, I definitely, if you haven't watched Cobra Kai yet, it's worth getting YouTube Premium for a month just to watch Cobra Kai. So yeah, I'd recommend seeing it. It's just, it's good on so many levels. On one level, it's kind of based. Like, it's anti-PC, but it's anti-PC in, like, a very... I don't know how you call it. Not really wholesome isn't really the term. In a very, like, meaningful way. Like, it's not just something they put in. It seems to be kind of part of the show's DNA. Like, Johnny is, like, just super politically incorrect. And it's kind of like a running joke in his character. Like, it's funny because he was, like, dating, in a subtle way. Yeah, maybe. To a certain extent. Like they like there's a bunch of good moments like that in Season 2. Like there's one part where he has a dating app and he's dating women on it, and one woman is like, it's like some black woman, and she's ranting about like the patriarchy and global warming and intersectionality, and she's like, yeah, I want to crush the patriarchy, and like Johnny's like, yeah, I hate the Patriots too, they're a shitty team. And there's like another part where they're like, yeah, we take girls and boys. Gender what? Is this a prank call? And then he just hangs up on them. But yeah, there's that. Also, like, Cobra Kai is very wholesome. Like, I don't think there's been any nudity. There's not very much swearing. There's a lot of like people beating each other up, but there's not a lot of like really explicit stuff in it. Like, there's not a lot of drugs or like it does feel very 80s. It has a bit of that 80s like Reagan era. Things are nice and clean. That sort of thing. Um, Also, like, I just think in terms of characters, Cobra Kai has like some of the best characters I've ever seen. Like, you legitimately like most of them, and I think it's interesting that like Johnny and Daniel are like rivals, and they're very obviously like a lot of the show is about them kind of facing off against each other. But I find them both very sympathetic in their own way. Like, they're like Daniel, I guess, is just kind of maybe in these circles not as much of the kind of guy that people here would like, because he's a little henpecked, etc. Although he does have a beautiful wife and two children and a successful business, etc. But like, there's a lot of good aspects to Daniel as a character, and there's a lot of good aspects of Johnny as a character. And I think you can like look at them and see, okay, they both have like good points and they both have bad points. And something I really liked in season 2 is, by the way, there's just going to be spoilers here. In season 1, the end of it, you had Miguel and Hawk basically cheat at the tournament, like hit their opponent like outside of a match and then try to like make their injuries worse and stuff. And Johnny kind of goes through a bit of a crisis of, I don't know if crisis of faith is the right way to put it, but it's like, maybe not everything I do was like the best idea. Like maybe telling everybody that the only thing to life is winning and being aggressive and violence is the only way to solve your problems. Maybe that wasn't the best idea. And he comes up with this, but at the same time, he's like, look, I'm not going to take back the stuff I did. I'm not going to like say that me teaching these kids to not be pussies, to not let people walk all over them, to be like alpha was a bad thing. But there needs to be a bit of balance. His line is, "No mercy doesn't mean no honor." He said we need to kind of get a bit more of a balanced view of this, and I like it because that's kind of how I feel. Because I think some people in these circles, one of the things I really hate about the left is they've ruined things like charity and compassion and stuff like that. Like, a lot of things that are just very traditional Christian virtues that have always kind of been idolized by society. Because, I don't know, like, there's nothing wrong with a lot of, like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to protect and take care of the poor and the weak. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad for people who are down on their luck or helping someone out. The issue is the left have turned it into, if you want to do something out of charity, it means you want to invite 1 billion Somalis into your country and have them rape your children. Is basically like what things have been reduced to. So I that's kind of, I think, one of the reasons why Western civilization is so great is we were able to kind of combine Christianity and masculinity. And that's kind of like where the whole like knight thing, Christian knighthood, comes from. But you're kind of trying to take two important things and fuse them together. And it's not always a easy combination, but I think it's something that is very productive and good. So I like that aspect of it. You also see in this show Daniel is kind of trying to get his masculinity back. and kind of get back to what he's passionate about and not just be all about his business, and to be a little more of a role model for his daughter. So, yeah, I'm really liking the show. Like I said, I think it's shown maturity. A couple people said like that they thought the show was like shitting on Johnny, and the show was supposed to make him look like a bad guy, and that this show was like really paused. I didn't really get that impression. I just thought they were going to try to make a point that you needed a bit of a balance. But I really like it. So then they bring Kreese back. So I haven't watched any of the original Karate Kid movies, and it's kind of interesting. I think it's equally valid to go into this having watched the originals and kind of seeing how these characters have changed over time, but also going in and not having seen the originals, so you just don't have any expectations, if you know what I mean. Like, you don't have you're just meeting and learning about these characters for the okay, Anti-Troll says masculinity to me is less about mass violence and aggression. It's about creating, excelling at work, constantly seeking self-improvement. Yeah, it's true. I don't. As I've said, I think the masculine force is the creative and destructive force, which is why we refer to God as a he. Whereas the female is the nurturing and sustaining force. I guess if we want to get like evil lays for a minute, that's kind of how I view it. And you both are equally important to society.
Oh my god, my dude. I am in like the worst real life come down that's ever graced the freaking planet right now.
But yeah, so Kreese was apparently Johnny's sensei in the original Karate Kid.
I trek around here with a
so he comes back, and he kind of takes advantage of the fact that Johnny's trying to be a better person. So he takes advantage of that, and he flatters Johnny, and he tries to apologize to him, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I kind of like I ruined your life. I'm sorry I wasn't a good sensei to you. I want a redemption arc."
That shit down there's my
that kind of thing.
I won't last till the next harvest, next month without it. People die from like the dumbest shit these days. Get me my kit, and I'll keep you and your people ticking. So you can die from violence, like your God intended, instead of like stepping on a nail.
Sorry, what was I thinking of again? Yeah, so he comes back, and he kind of, I think, is supposed to represent what Johnny was like.
White ones, they smell exactly like happiness.
So his whole thing is he's like psychotically like hyper dominant. So like his view, for instance, is that all of life is war, and that you have to just basically be in a constant state of war with everyone around you. Like, when you're fighting people, like, even, like, if anybody, like, vaguely opposes you, even if it's, like, under something not that important, your response should be to try to kill the person, basically. Like, to just beat the shit out of them. He just basically teaches them to be, like, hyper-aggressive, etc. And Johnny's kind of like, no, I've moved beyond this. We need to have more of a balance. Like, I need to stop kind of LARPing, I guess you could say, and try to be an adult. And try to be a bit more of a role model for these kids. So, I really liked it. There's also a cool scene where Johnny rips out, there's like some degenerate asshole at a bar. And, Johnny rips, he has like a spacer out. A spacer in his ear, and Johnny rips it out and then beats the shit out of the guy. No, I haven't seen any of the Karate Kid movies. I do like Jackie Chan, though. I think, from what I understand, Jackie Chan's like super bass or something like that. From what people have told me.
The water's rising real heckin' fast, my guy. You should get back to the main hole.
For the record, I'm not trying to be one of these, like, oh, some of my best friends are black people. But as much as I make fun of China, I actually really do like China a lot. Like, China, like, I don't know, like, China economy's strong. China's just fun to make fun of, but there's a lot of people I like to make fun of, but that I actually like. Like, I like the French, but I'm obligated to hate them because I'm an Anglo-German, so... But I do actually like France quite a bit.
Now the water's not rising is a problem. Needs to keep rising. You need to keep flooding the place. Take a look around.
Argentine Secret China Boo. I wouldn't call myself a China Boo. I just find Chinese history very interesting. I find all kinds of history really interesting. It's funny because in real life, people think I'm some sort of like hardcore liberal a lot of the time, just because I know so much about like other cultures. Like the Indian guy at my workplace, I was talking about all that kind of. Oh, is this only going to be Karate Kid only, or can I drift other? Yeah, this is just a general stream. I was just talking about Cobra Kai because it came out the other day, so that's the only reason I was talking about it. Then I just really like the show. In my opinion, China economy. Okay, I'm just reading something. In my Anti-Troll 101 says, in my opinion, China economy strong is more about mocking Maoism / modern China than it is about mocking their actual culture. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, all peoples on Earth have funny things about them. Like, be it the way they talk, be it like some goofy cultural thing, be it like some quirk in their character. And like when it comes to China, they act like worker bees. And like I say China economy strong as a joke, but very often in the articles I read, they literally will say something like China economy strong. They'll literally be like, this helps with the economic development of the area, or something like that, like as a justification for their bullshit. So, I mean, once again, I'm not trying to be like the, oh, I'm not racist, I make fun of everybody. But, I don't know, there's stuff to make fun about Muslims. I make fun of stuff about, like, the French or the English, or... I don't, it's just, a lot of people just take shit too seriously. You have to be able to laugh at things. If you're not able to laugh at things, it's... I don't know. It's just life is a lot harder. I mean, life is hard enough. You have to kind of be able to laugh at tragedy a bit. Okay, why people think I'm a liberal because I know about other cultures is because they think I don't. It's because they associate enlightenment with left-wing values. So they figure if I know everything about these other cultures, I'll know that all these other cultures believe the same things as them. I'm just trying to think of how to describe it. Like the Muslims and like the Hindus and stuff I talk to in Canada will talk about how their cultures were traditionally feminist and pro-gay and anti-racist and stuff like that. And they truly believe that that is what their peoples were historically like.
I'm using up all the panic around here. You're gonna use up all the oxygen in your blood if you panic. Then you double drown. It's human body basics.
Yeah, I know they aren't feminists, but they'll say that. Like the Indian guy at my work is like, oh no, Hinduism has always supported like gay marriage and stuff like that. And so it kind of comes to this stage where I have to like white-splain their own culture to them. So I'm like, but no, that's not what happened, or like, no, that's not historically like what this part of the world like. And I'll have to like, and it's really awkward like to have to try to explain it to them, and then they'll be like, oh, I know more about my my people than their people. Like it's just, yeah. Yeah, the Indian guy also complains about how the British killed hundreds of millions of Indians and committed genocide. He complains about that, and he talks about wanting the British to get exterminated. But he also, I don't know. Hindus are really shitty. Like, I think people just don't really think about how shitty Hindus are because they just aren't as, like, openly bad. But the thing with Hindus is they're nominalists. Like, they just disbelieve in, like, reality. So I've had arguments with him where he says that because he doesn't believe things like that historical facts are like real. He just thinks everything is 100% subjective, including like that there like history doesn't exist. It's just created as you think about it. Because I got into a fight with people at my work over whether or not the moon landing happened, and I was like, I don't know. There's evidence that it happened. They're like, well, that's your opinion that it happened. I'm like, no, there's actual evidence for it. And so they got like super triggered by that. I forget what the other one was. It was like I think it was a movie about like I think it was 8 Mile or it was like one of like 50 Cent's movies or something. And they were like it was some fictionalized account of someone's life. And they're like, "Oh, that person was so poorly abused. That person was beat up by the cops, all this other stuff." And then I'm just like that well that's their side of the story. I mean, you have to keep in mind if the person themselves is writing it and it makes them look like they're the greatest guy in the world and everybody was mean to them, that could be an indication that they're exaggerating. Um, and they're like, why would anybody lie? No, it's solipsism. That's not what it means that there is no such thing as objective reality. There's only what you perceive reality to be. So the past will change based on who's so like a battle will happen or unhappen based on who who is thinking about it. I don't know, like I had a professor in university, fortunately, who really, really hated postmodernism. So he explained a lot of this to us. Like an aspect of postmodernism is like he was saying how some of them have argued that death only exists when we socially construct our own death. So if people were to just get rid of the concept of death and the social expectation of dying, then people would become immortal. Is like how like some of these people think. But no, they like when I tried to explain that people frequently lie and embellish things in their autobiography. Like they just thought I was insane. They said there's no way that like someone would lie about something like that. Like they're like, why would they? And I'm like, because it makes them look better, and because like it's just it's the whole NPC thing. It's just to me personally, and I don't even think like this is some super like in depth. I don't know. Like complex, big brain thing that people lie in order to look better. Like I didn't think that was that complicated, but maybe I am just super big brain. Maybe that's what this whole thing is about. I don't know. Okay, open everyone. Anyway, so as I was saying, basically, because I'm so interested in other people, they think I will understand that. I don't know, because they think intolerance comes from ignorance. But if you talk to any of these people, they are super ignorant. Like most of them just don't know anything about history or the actual cultures or religions or whatever of these people, of like the people they idealize. They okay, Indians asking why they would. Indians are solipsists. They don't believe in reality. It's part of their religion. So also Indians just there's kind of a deceitful people in a lot of this. I don't particularly like them. I don't hate them as much as a lot of people, but there's a lot of very annoying aspects to them. Whereas like a lot of Muslims will just like stab you in the face. I find Indians tend to be very like submissive and kind of beta in the way they deal with people. Open every in valve. Okay. Oh, close every out. Okay, I was Oh, by the way, I'm just going to say this now. We are not talking about something that happened in the Golden State today. We're just not going to talk about it. I'd appreciate you don't write anything about it on in the chat. Just I have that. There's an ongoing ban of something that happened in Norway. I just don't think there's really anything to be gained by talking about it, and those are the kind of things that get you shut down the fastest. So. If you want to know who the absolute worst people are to deal with, it's probably, in my opinion, liberal Muslims. Liberal Muslims are the worst. Because they take all the bad aspects of Islam, like the Islamic supremacy, the need for society to cater to their every whim, the need for Islam to rule society, subverting the political system, acting as a tribe, and then they combine it by taking out all the good aspects of Islam, and you get this just like total just shit. Like it's really bad. If you've ever had the displeasure of dealing with liberal Muslims. Don't even mention Star Wars Episode 9. I like, I don't know, I might go see, what's it called again? Endgame. I just really don't want to see Endgame. Because someone spoiled it from me. And that was kind of the only thing I was interested in, and the spoilers just sounded completely retarded. To me, it sounded like complete shit, so I wasn't really interested in seeing it. I'll probably see it just because I've seen so many movies before and I'm kind of invested in it, but at the same time, I kind of just... ugh. I don't know. I have to, like, I always say I'm going to take a stand, I'm going to stop watching Marvel movies. But there's always just nothing else on. So I wind up seeing them, but I really have to take a stand and stop watching Marvel movies. It's so bad. Like, I was initially... oh shit, it's an alligator. What the hell? Did he just snap an alligator's neck with his bare hands? That is fucking based. This is the best game ever. Someone just basically told me everything that happens in Endgame. It sounds really, really lame. This is a really shitty, like, mission. This is literally, like, one of the worst missions in Far Cry history. It's kind of funny, because Ubisoft is, like, kind of super paused. But the Far Cry games have, like, really based aspects to them. Like, is there anything more Chad than riding a saber-toothed tiger? Like, it's hard for me to think of anything more like Chad than that, to be honest.
Holy tit feathers! You made it! Get my kit, okay? Get my field kit. Don't forget, okay? Please go get it.
I know, Thanos' plan didn't really make any sense.
Oh, my sweet baby Spunk. We got it back. Oh, this will make life so much easier. Now I can itch my bug bites and get him infected without dropping dead a month later.
I refuse to see Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
I've been meaning to, like,
everyone tells me it's really good, but I refuse to watch that movie.
You mind if I run with you? I can set up my lab in your home camp garden or whatever, and I can help you boost your immune systems and get you feeling real good. A constitution and junk. I'll just set up my stuff there now, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going now. Gonna settle in. Thanks again, my dude.
My dude. Ooh, supply drop. Where's the supply drop? Oh, there we go.
A good-ass heckin' dog, yo.
Oh, Spider-Verse is good? I don't know. Anyways, guys, I think that's good. I think I covered most of the stuff I wanted to. Anyways, thanks for watching. Maybe I'll do a stream tomorrow, maybe not. But have a good, better rest of the weekend.